Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, maybe articles, research, sometimes just notes, and we really dig in to pull out the key insights.
Hmm.
Today, we've got a fascinating set of materials you provided. We're going to be looking closely at claims around voter integrity, specifically from the 2016 U.S. election. Our mission here is simply to extract the core information, the facts and arguments presented in these specific sources, understand what they're actually saying.
Right. And we're going to synthesize those claims, the figures, the arguments that are made within this material you sent, really help you navigate the details presented.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The main point from this source jumps right out. It argues that, despite what many people say, there was significant illegal voter fraud back in 2016.
Hmm.
It directly challenges that idea that, quote, there was no illegal voter fraud going on.
Yeah, it starts very specifically. The source claims nearly 2 million non-citizen Hispanics illegally registered to vote. That's a huge number to start with.
2 million. Where do they say that comes from?
Well, the source attributes it to a nationwide poll. It says this poll was mentioned in a Washington Times article, and it calls it the National Hispanic Survey.
Okay, a national Hispanic survey. That sounds specific. Does the source give any more detail on, how that number was reached?
It does try to break it down. It mentions the survey was done in June by McLaughlin and Associates. They used a randomly selected sample of 800 Hispanics.
Right.
And according to the source material, 56%, so that's 448 people, said that they were non-citizens.
Okay.
And then crucially, of those, the non-citizens, 13% said they were registered to vote. So that's how they seem to arrive at that kind of figure, extrapolating from that sample.
Interesting. And the source doesn't just leave the number hanging there, does it? It brings in some political reaction.
No, it definitely adds weight. It quotes White House advisor Stephen Miller saying, "This is a scandal. We need to stop the presses," and talking about massive numbers of non-citizens registered to vote.
So reinforcing the scale of it.
Exactly. And then it adds more context. It points to a 1996 federal law saying it's a felony for non-citizens to register. And then it makes quite a specific allegation against John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chair.
Oh, look at that.
The source claims he was putting something in writing, telling illegals to go get a driver's license and then show up at the DMV and tell them that you're U.S. citizens.
Wow. Okay, so it connects survey data, political commentary, and alleged instructions like that. After laying out these specific claims about non-citizen registration, where does the source go next? Does it broaden out?
Yes, it then moves to much larger estimates of total alleged illegal votes, bringing in different sources and categories. It's quite a shift in scale.
How does it build up those numbers?
Well, first, it cites an analysis by professors at Old Dominion University. According to the source, they estimated that there was roughly 800,000 illegal voting.
Okay, 800,000 from that study.
Then it brings in estimates from what it calls two nonpartisan watchdog groups, voterfraud.org and watchdog.org. And these groups, the source claims, estimate that 3 to 7 million additional people, illegals, voted.
3 to 7 million, that's a huge range.
It is. And the source kind of specifies that further, breaking it down as 4 million dead voters and 3 million non-citizens. So sort of picking a number within that range and adding categories.
Right, dead voters now too.
Mm-hmm. And when you combine all these figures, the 800,000, the 4 million dead, the 3 million non-citizens, the source suggests a total of roughly 9.5, almost 10 million alleged illegal vote.
Almost 10 million.
Yeah.
That's a massive number. So what does the source say this means for the election result, for the popular vote specifically?
Well, this is where the source really draws its main conclusion about the outcome. It argues strongly against Hillary Clinton's popular vote victory. It claims that of all those alleged illegal voters, the nearly 10 million, roughly 81% would have voted for Hillary.
81%. Okay.
So applying that percentage to the source's total, it calculates that about 8 million of Hillary Clinton's votes were illegal,
Right, according to their math.
according to their math. And this leads the source to conclude that actually Trump shall act her by over 5 million in the popular vote. So a complete reversal.
A reversal and then some.
Yeah.
Okay. The source also touches on what happened after the election, right? Talk about investigations.
Yes, it shifts focus a bit there. It mentions President Trump announcing he'd appoint a task force on voter fraud, led by Vice President Pence. And the source notes the investigation was supposed to focus on inaccurate voting registration rules at the state level.
And does it bring up the previous administration in this context?
It does, with a very specific claim. It states that Barack Obama expressly forbid people from being removed from voter rolls after they died.
Forbid them?
That's the claim in the source, implying this directly contributed to the potential for fraud using deceased voters' registrations.
And there was more, wasn't there? Something about hacking?
Yeah, another quite contentious claim. The source says there are investigations taking place right now because of Barack Obama's using the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to hack into different states' election systems.
Hacking into election systems.
By DHS.
That's the allegation. The source specifies it was Obama's DHS trying to hack in before the votes could be certified. And it wasn't just one state. It says not one, not two, but 3 states. It also throws in that the NAACP allegedly was massively resisting any attempts to investigate voter fraud, and the source seems to suggest this resistance itself is suspicious.
Right, implying that resistance means there's something to hide.
That seems to be the implication drawn by the source, yeah.
And the source doesn't stop with government actions or political groups. It also has some strong words for the media and fact-checkers. Oh, absolutely. It really goes on the offensive there. The source makes these sweeping claims against many media outlets and so-called fact-checkers. And then it uses some extremely harsh language, and we should be clear, we're quoting directly from the material here, calling them your extortionist, your prostitute, and your embezzler, who make up the entirety of Snopes.
Wow. That's incredibly strong language.
Very strong. And the source insists, despite what these outlets report, that there's plenty of evidence, you just refuse to speak of it. It also includes a claim about a group linked to George Soros, which it calls Devos. The source alleges this group's goals include the eradication of national sovereignty for a one-world government, plus pushing climate change and eliminating free speech.
Okay, so a wide-ranging critique there. Bringing it all together then, what's the final overall conclusion presented in this source material?
The bottom line, according to this source, is that Hillary Clinton did not even win the popular vote. In fact, she too got shellacked.
Got shellacked, right.
And it ends with a sense of anticipation stating, all this will come to light soon enough.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this particular deep dive. We've walked through the specific claims, the figures, the arguments, and the very strong perspectives presented in the source material you provided about the 2016 election and voter fraud. Remember, our aim here was just to understand what this source was actually saying and how it built its case.
And this deep dive, I think, really highlights how a single source or a set of related materials can weave together different pieces, survey data, quotes, other reports, accusations, sometimes escalating the numbers, to construct a very powerful narrative. So maybe a final thought for you to consider is this. When you encounter any source presenting detailed claims, especially ones that challenge mainstream views or strongly attack opponents, how do you go about evaluating those specifics? How do you assess the evidence presented and the broader arguments being made?
That's a great question to leave things on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. As always, we encourage you to stay curious and keep engaging critically with the information you come across.